In this video, I'm in a very noisy Oxford to test drive this Peugeot 305 GTX estate. Fun times. Yep, sporty wagons are all the rage, but they're nothing new. I present the 305 GTX estate. This one's looking extra sporty because it sits on Peugeot 205 GTI alloys. It's purely because the original wheels are in a very poor state. The owner had these wheels. They look a bit comedic, perhaps a bit chunky, but nonetheless I think they quite suit it. And of course they've got the Peugeot logo in the middle, so all is good. But this is a second generation 305. The first generation used the old suitcase engine with the gearbox in sump layout. This uses the later XU engine, petrol version of the XUD, or vice versa. And yeah, it is in 1.9 litre form. It has 104 brake horsepower, single carburetor. It's the same 1905cc basic engine as the 205 GTI. It's just minus the I, which is a shame because I think that would make it even more entertaining. Interesting point to note is the Series 2 305s had the wipers correct for right-hand drive. They didn't bother moving them on the Series 1. Series 1 was even available with a particularly feeble 1.5 litre diesel. By the time the Series 2 came out with the XUD, much better diesel engine. But I'm pleased to test the petrol because, oh shush, the 305 is about much more than just the diesel versions. And I'm particularly pleased to be driving an estate as well. They're a very clever car. Styling is by Pininfarina, and one of their better efforts, I think. It's a little nondescript perhaps, but a nice, clean, pleasing shape. There are details in this one I hadn't noticed until I had a good look around earlier, like the ribbed roof, which makes fitting an aftermarket sunroof an absolute pain in the backside because there's this big gap here. So it's been sealed up to within an inch of its life, and the owner hopes never to open it ever again. So we will not be testing the sunroof functionality. But a very good practical estate shape, just very square rigged, very large tailgate, huge rear window with a nice rear wiper. There's the GTX confirmation. But the cleverness of the estate lies underneath. Let's see how we're doing for light levels. There we go. Now you can see the suspension unit. It's a horizontal coil spring. In effect, it's very similar to the hydraulic rear suspension on a BX, where it's got a little hydraulic strut in exactly the same location. So a very clever design there. Stop squealing, children, or I will give you something to squeal about. And you can just see that is the correct style of alloy wheel. There on the underslung spare wheel. Again, being underslung, it's well out of the way, which is good for load space. As we can see if we open up the boot. But yeah, the clever suspension gives a completely flat floor. If the focus will join us at some point. There we go, struggling to focus on so much delicious velour. So yeah, huge load area. You'll note we've actually got a 4-seater here, and I've just noticed another lovely period detail, clunk clips. So you can pull the seatbelt off you, you set that and it holds the belt off you so it's not too tight, but it will still work and lock if you need it to in an emergency situation. So there you go. I'm just going to have a quick nosy in this flap. That might just be to access the rear bulbs. Oh no, we've got a jack in there and a bit of card that's now falling off. Perfect. Yeah, oh there we go. Reattached, perfect. Oh yeah, you just remove the lights to change the bulb with a simple crosshead screwdriver. Let's go and have a look inside. Bit of droopage on the old hinge there. Supremely comfortable seats, very soft and forgiving, as you might expect in a French car. Let's just jump aboard. I'll let you take in the dashboard, little glove box here. Quite capacious. Look, you can get many bottles of wine in there. An original bulb kit from Peugeot Talbot Boutique. That's amazing. And like a Renault 21 I drove recently, blanking plugs where the window winders should be. It took me a while to find the electric window switches. Go on, how long's it taking you? Yes, there they are, underneath the clock. Tiny little switches there. Does that open or something? That looks like it should contain money. Oh, it does contain money. And it contains a French franc. Oh, I used to know a French franc, but he moved to Canada. We get any focus on that? There we go. Liberty, égalité, and fraternity, I think. Yes, there you go. The French do love a frat party. Also got a little ashtray here as well. Quartz clock, which is still working, look. Aftermarket stereo down here. Indicator noise check. Yeah, that's a pretty pleasing noise. Very long gear lever, very standard Peugeot at the time, so quite a long gate on it, a bit clunky to use. Yeah, Peugeot not really all that good on gear changes at this time, which is a little unfortunate. The dash binnacle, to anyone who's owned a Citroen BX, is very familiar. It looks quite the same. Earlier 305s, or actually no, 305s of this generation, I think. Some of the lesser models, less sporty, had a different dash with a load of warning lights at the top. This looks much more familiar to 205 owners there, I think. And the stalks look a little ancient. They're not on trend with other 1980s Citroens, I don't think. If I remember rightly, you turn for lights. Yeah, there you go. And yeah, wiper stalk will obviously come to wipers. Why wouldn't you? Headlamp adjuster down here, rear wiper, and because it's a carburettor, we've got a good old manual choke, but not too much wheel arch intrusion going on down there. Room just about to get my foot past the pedal to rest, so not too bad. Bit of a rusty bleb there. What do you expect? It's getting on a bit. We've got remote central locking by the look of it. I'm going to assume it doesn't work. And I wish these buttons did something, but alas, we're denied. And it looks like the interior light has already gone missing. And yeah, there we are. We can see the rear wiper right there. In fact, we could do a bit of a rear wiper. Oh, apparently we don't get any wash action going on. Not to worry. We'll cope. Can you hear the distress in my voice? Let's try the rear seats. So here in the rear, headroom is actually a little tight. I wasn't expecting that. I wonder if it's because these seats are a bit sporty and a bit firm. As I mentioned when I did the boot test, there are just the two seats, and they do rattle around a bit. They're not the most secure in terms of seat back. But yeah, comfortable enough, nicely padded. There's a decent amount of leg room. My feet go under the seat. So yeah, there's certainly no bother sitting here. You do sit quite high up, so I can see right over the front seats and look at a beautiful sight of a Vauxhall Corsa over there. But yeah, quite comfortable, quite raked back. But yeah, I quite like that. Keep fit windows in the rear, of course. Did I go all the way down? Not quite. Bad times. Tinted glass though, that's quite fancy. And if I jump out a moment, we can explore the folding options. There we go. So yeah, we've got a little screw tab to hold it in place there, and a little tab very similar to that found on the back of a Citroen Visa. And now the back of the seat will fold down, and we've got all the load space in the world, and all the velour in the world as well. So that's how we make it work. See, everything is fresh on a hub nut test. We literally have not got a clue what we're doing. Oh dear, the seat's falling off. This is not exactly a hassle-free design, is it? And now the seat back still rocks around a bit. And yeah, we fold that down there. We lose, there is a middle seat belt, but who's going to want to sit on the gap? That's ridiculous. And I'll put that little screw down, keep it nice and secure. There we go. That was worth doing, wasn't it? Put my seatbelt on. I might even set my clunk clip. Oh, there we go. To just take the tension off and let the belt sit nice and loosely. Right, I have to be a bit careful with starting because the return spring's broken in the ignition barrel. So I'll have to return it myself. Let's do wipers. Interesting. Oh, there we go. That's frenetic. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. So a push in. Oh, you push in for your intermittent, I see. And then, you twist. There we go. There is a tiny triangle of doom going on here. There may be dribblage. There we go, turn off the intermittent. But yeah, pretty frenetic wipers, but not bad. Maybe leaving a bit too much unswept here at the side. So, yeah, that is quite chunky. I'm going to say 7 out of 10. Or maybe 6, because we have got a dribble going on. Is there a mist function? Yes, there we go. Right, enough wiperness. I apologise for being a wiper geek. Handbrake needs 2 attempts to get it off. Now we're driving over a very corrugated bit of ground at the moment. One fault I will say of this car, it really doesn't like this pottering along slowly business. It's very jerky. It's yeah, it's not really what it wants to do. But over this broken terrain of the car park, it's surprisingly good over these big potholes. Even though I imagine the GTX, oh there we go, flat spot again, has rather firmer suspension. No power steering, which I keep forgetting because I kind of assume it will have power steering. But once we're up to speed, I don't think that'll be a problem, to be honest. And we're going to get straight onto the A40, so speed will soon be with us. All of the speed. 60. That's 70. Yeah, the gearing's a bit sporty, so we're doing 70 at almost 3,500 revs. Bit of wind noise from this terrible sunroof. Yeah, that's working hard and sounds like it. Nice smell of petrol as well, that's always encouraging. But yeah, very strange. I never really regarded the 305 as a sporty car. But this one, yeah, it does feel, yeah, I mean, she wants to go. Bit of a wheel wobble going on. I think maybe the Peugeot alloys aren't perfectly in balance. I think we should come off and see if we can find some more entertaining roads. Give the brakes a test. Yeah, they're all right. Good mid-range grunt. Oh, look at that, straight off a dual carriageway onto a very entertaining road. Move that. Oh, that is the interior light. There you go, I found it. Oh, this feels more like it. Sit very high up. I feel like I'm almost looking through the top of the windscreen, which does mean I get a great view of the bonnet, so I can imagine parking this thing is an absolute doddle. Yeah, very fluid ride despite being a little bit sporty and firm. still a fair amount of suspension travel, so it can absorb the bigger bumps. Speed humps? Oh, oh, yeah. Maybe not the best. Apparently there are vacuum controls for the heating and ventilation. I mean, what could possibly go wrong there? The visibility is excellent, it's comfortable. I can see why this is a very appealing car. It's just a strange one. The overall vibe is very slightly of 1970s, but yeah, it's just enough to make it feel a bit more current for the 1980s. Lovely buildings around here, aren't there? It still feels very tightened together for 107,000 miles. I did once drive a van version of one of these with over 250,000 miles on it, and that really did feel it. But the rear suspension is nice and quiet. It can creak and age badly and start developing all sorts of unusual camber. But no, this one seems very good. There's a warning light for the oil pressure up there, which is completely obscured by the steering wheel. And the same for temperature on this side, or water level, I think that is. Whatever happened to water level gauges? A very sensible idea. Stop you cooking your engine. So yeah, that's not great, but this chunkier GTX wheel just completely obscures the instrumentation. Again though, if I was sitting a bit lower down, that wouldn't be an issue. I mean, I don't know if there is height control on this seat. No, I don't believe there is. That's the recline. So yeah, I mean, I would like this seat to be much closer to the ground. Oh hello, national speed limit, did you say? I can feel it torque steering there. But yeah, it does pull well. This is it's very strange. But yeah, these XU engines can be quite punchy. The gear change feels fine now we're up to speed. The brakes are good, haul us back down to sensible speeds quite nicely. It's just bizarre. The Sporty load lugger. I mean, there have been sporty load luggers over the years. Audi RS2, of course. Lesser known, the Montego GTI estate, that was a thing. I wonder if any of those have survived. So it's not like it's an alien concept, but the 305, yeah, it is a bit like discovering that your granddad's into disco dancing, isn't it? Yeah, it's a nice noise, I think, nice and gruff. Yeah, what a strange vehicle this is. Fascinating. The 305, sadly, pretty much forgotten because people just ran them into the ground. You still see quite a few of them in France because they are remarkably long-lived, very robust vehicles. They will go on pretty much forever on a diet of total neglect, as per that van I used to drive once upon a time. I don't think it ever received much in the way of love and attention. Yeah, I think if I was to own a 305 myself, I would go estate, but I don't think I would go GTX. I think the shorter gearing would just do my head in. Yeah, a fair bit of roll going on in the bends. That's okay, because Peugeot was very good at combining ride and handling in one package. Oh, look at that. Mark II Golf. Driver. Good times. That was the Peugeot 305 GTX Estate, sporty practicality in a very fine form. Quite an interesting car to drive, an odd mixture of worlds. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell if you want to see more videos of this nature. Don't forget you can visit hubnut.org for merchandise and support options. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in a future video where I will drive something else. What on earth will it be? find out, stay tuned, and I'll see you in a future video. Farewell. Lovely. Bang. Oh, we'll just reattach the number plate for the owner. This doesn't happen with every road test. There we go.